the guest today. Resilience for Dairy is a thematic network funded by EU H2020 program. The global aim of this project is to improve the sustainability of the European dairy sector by increasing the resilience and the robustness of the dairy farms. To improve this robustness and this resilience, we are looking for innovative solutions belonging to three different expertise areas. The first one is economic and social resilience. The second one is about the technical efficiency of the farms. And the third one is about environment, welfare, and society. So this is a thematic network, which means that we are not creating new reference and new knowledge by experiments, but we are promoting cross-border exchanges of existing knowledge. And to do this, we have built a big consortium of 18 partners from 16 different countries. And as you can see, with the countries in green on the map, the production background for dairy production are very, very different. From Finland to Spain, from Northern Ireland to Italy or Hungary, Poland. And so the production background in terms of climate, soil, global environment is very different within our consortium. The consortium is made of different type of institutions. We have research institutes, we have universities, we have schools, we have farmers co-ops and applied research organization like the French Livestock Institute. So today we will talk about the French experience. Just one word before we start. The structure of the project in each participating country is based on a kind of steering committee that we call the National Dairy Acquis. It's gathering pilot farms, innovative pilot farms, but also the different actors acting for the development or acting in a dairy chain in each participating country. So this is what we call the National Dairy Acquis. In today's webinar, we will tell you about what we have done within the French National Dairy Acquis for this project. We will start with a short presentation of dairy production in France, with the current situation of the sector with Aubin. And then we will tell you about what we've done in the French National Dairy Acquis for this project until now, who is belonging to this National Dairy Acquis and what we have done until now. We will also have a short video presentation of one of our meetings with Jocelyn. And finally, we will take the example of one of our pilot farms, Valérie and Olivier Josset from Brittany, belonging to one of our discussion groups of farmers. The farmers are so resilient that they are on holiday today, so I will make the presentation of the farm and you will have the opportunity to ask some questions about the farm and the farmers can answer after the meeting. So you can put your questions in the chat or ask the question. I will try to answer, and if I can't, we will give the questions to the farmers. So this is a program. Let's start with Aubin and the bovine dairy production in France.
Okay, thank you, Valérie. I hope you hear me well. It's okay? Yes? Okay, thank you. So I will try in 10 minutes to give you a short overview of the French dairy sector with some key figures. So today there are around 55,000 of dairy producers in our country. So it is a decreasing figure because 10 years ago there were almost 80,000 dairy producers in France. In terms of number of dairy cows, today there are around 3.5 million of dairy cows in our country, which is also a decreasing figures because around 20 years ago there were around 4.7 million of dairy cows, so more than 1 million more than today. In terms of deliveries and the seasonality of milk production, so there is a small seasonality with a maximum of production during the spring period, during the beginning of the grazing period, and in in the whole year, today there is a milk delivery raising around 24 million of tons. So France is the second European milk producer behind Germany. And it is also a decreasing figure because it's around 4% less than 6 years ago. 2015 was the most productive year on record in France. And today there is almost 6% of the milk production in organic. And where is produced this milk? As you can see on this map, more than the half of the production is made on the north west of France in 3 regions: Brittany, Normandy, and Pays de Loire, which are regions in the lowland area. So I give you a general overview, but as you all know, France covers a huge diversity of dairy systems. So I try to show this diversity on this map in 3 type of dairy area. The first one is the lowland dairy area in the northwest. So as I say, where the milk production is mainly produced. So in this area, you will find mainly mostly specialized dairy farm, sometimes with also beef production. The average farm will be a farm of 80 hectares with 70 dairy cows, with a large variation of large range of intensification, from a share of maize silage in the forage area from 0% to 50%, for example. And obviously the milk per cow is also variable. A second area is the mountain dairy area. So it will be mostly specialized dairy farm, a little bit less large in terms of number of dairy cow, in terms of productivity per cow, and it will be mainly system based on grassland, and also mainly farms on PDO contracts. So I guess you all know famous cheese like Comté, which is a very remunerative PDO for farmer in terms of milk price. But there is also in this region, in particular, PDO, which are not that's remunerative than other PDO like Comté. And finally, in the northeast, east, and southwest, you will find mixed crop and dairy farms, so producing milk and also cereals. They are quite bigger than the other, and also quite intensive per cow and per hectare than in a lowland area or in mountain area. So it's a very basic view of what we can find in terms of the dairy system in our country. So in France, more than 75% of the milk is sold like standard milk. You will find also 10% on PDO contract, so mostly to produce cheeses. Almost more than 5% today is produced as organic milk, and the rest is it is what we call segmented milk, like GMO-free milk, for example. So concerning the dairy industry, France is an important operator at the world level, with 4 private companies among the 25 world leaders. You all may know them, like Lactalis, Danone, Savencia, and Bell, which are collecting more than 35% of the national production. Also, the cooperative model is also important in France, with actors collecting 45% of the national production. But the key message is that in France there is many company, the big one, but also small one. We count around 300 companies with more than 600 dairy factories producing many products, mainly cheese, as you can see on this chart. Around a third of the milk production is used to produce cheese. So I try to make a SWOT analysis of this French dairy sector, but with this large diversity is not an easy exercise. So I try to focus on some key message to give you. So in terms of strengths for the French dairy sector, we can say that we have a quite good soil and climate potential, especially in the northwest of France, leading to quite low feeding cost when we only consider operational cost and not fixed cost. There is also high density of producer, of processor, and processor which are producing many different products with strong brands. So it's quite good in terms of added value. In terms of weaknesses, there is a quite high dependence in protein in the intensive system. Also, the most important weaknesses of our system, it's that we have a quite high fixed cost, especially in terms of mechanization, and leading to low economic efficiency at the whole farm. Also, we have a quite complex relationship within the supply chain between the meat producer, the meat processors, the retailers, when we are talking about milk price. Concerning the opportunity, we hope that with our national protein plan and the CAP subsidies, we will have higher protein autonomy in our farms. There is a growing demand also in local products and segmented products. So a good opportunity to add a higher added value. And finally, concerning the threats, the most important one is that we have a high number of retirements to face in the coming years, with a low replacement rate and also difficulties to find an employee. There is also in our country, but I guess in all European country, increasing production cost in terms of energy, fertilization, labor. And finally, one word about the organic market. There is a growing gap between the supply and the demand in terms of organic milk. So it's not a good sign for the futures for this market. So concerning all these different strengths and opportunity and weaknesses, also farmers have chosen different ways to increase their resilience. So with my colleague from IDEL, we try to define 3 strategies to get more resilience. The first one will be the strategy, the volume strategy, in order to dilute investment and fixed cost with the extra volume produced. The second one could be the low input system, with the objective to get less dependent on the input cost. So it will be mainly grassland-based system. And the last one will be the strategy of looking for added value, thanks to different label like organic label or PDO, or maybe thanks to direct sales on the farm. So, of course, these 3 strategies are not separated. A farmer can build a low input system and also have to and also want to have direct sales on their farm, so it's not separated. So I hope that I gave you a good overview of our French dairy sector, and I will give the stage to Jocelyn.
Okay, thanks, Aubin. So you have we have get a lot of key figures and key numbers. So now we wanted to go in this second part more connected to our national dairy acquis discussion, what we have done during this R4D project, and to give you some outputs at this step of this project. So we started in 2021. So we have done more or less 1 year and a half. So the idea, just to begin, Aubin, if you can, the idea was to have a good overview of our agricultural and knowledge information systems, so the ACIS system in France. So it's not the complex one, and it's a short view and much more focused on dairy sectors. And to understand who we invited to our national dairy acquis. So if we consider that the farmers are the final users of our activities, so that's why they are at the top of this scheme. And we will see that we have different actors working with them. So one of the first actors when we discuss about knowledge transfer is the schools, the agricultural schools, so on the left, and they work with farmers, but also they teach a lot of advisors. So that's one of the key actors. And in the other side of our activities, of our scheme, on the base of this scheme, it's the research and development actors. So public research, as you know, maybe in RAE, who works in several topics connected to agriculture, and specialized on livestock. We have some specific institute as our, like French Livestock Institute, IDEL. So all of us work with all of other actors, not directly to farmers, much more connected to the other organizations. So on the left, we work a lot with technical advisors who work then just after with farmers, in fact. So they can work on technical aspects as milk recording associations, or on strategy, on rules or extension services, like the agricultural chambers. Some work much more connected on the strategy also to the farms and to the territories. So this is the rural development associations. And some are specialized on specific topics like organic associations or accounting associations. Ensure the cooperative and dairy companies can work also with all of us and with farmers, also to deal some input for farmers, but also to deal with some diagnostic on milk quality, for instance. And in the other side, on the right, you have the health and sanitary advice. So mainly organized about the vets in France, so they can be liberal or connected to some cooperatives. And there are also some local organization who has to follow the sanitary situation on the area. So they have their own schools, veterinarian schools, but we work all together for the farmers. So, and when we discuss about how to build our French national dairy acquis, as Valérie said a few words at the beginning, we picked some colleagues coming from this different organization. So the 24 colleagues of our French national dairy acquis, we have 11 pilot farms, and we have 3 teachers, researchers, 5 dairy advisors, 1 public policy makers, 2 members of our dairy interbranch organization, so at the national level and regional level, 2 accountancy advisors. And on our 11 pilot farms, 10 of them are connected to 4 operational groups. So with Gwendoline, Catherine, Sophie, and Morgan, as you can see on the pictures. And 1 coming from another area, so it's in Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes in the southeast of France. So here is our national dairy acquis, and the idea now is to give you some ideas or outputs of what we have done during these first meetings. So we have done some national workshop. The first one was held in Paris in November 2021 with farmers, teachers, researchers, advisors, and dairy sector representatives. As we said, all of them came. And the second one took place in Normandy in a high school, in agricultural high school, with farms connected to this high school, and this farms is also a pilot farms. So that's why we have done some specific discussion. We'll see just after, but we wanted to show you a video to give you some pictures and some key message that we have done during this second meeting. So I think that Aubin can send it. I guess that we will see it. Not yet. Yeah, it's coming. And with the sound, perfect. Okay, thanks Aubin for this video, and you mainly did it also. So thanks again for this big job on these videos. So if you can just put the slides, yeah.
Welcome. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we can see it. Thanks. So as you can see, on this second visit, we have visited also 2 pilot farms, and it was interesting also to see 2 different systems and to get some explanations from farmers. So, but now we wanted to say some words about what we did during these 2 meetings, in fact. So sure that we discussed about the project, and we wanted to know each partners. So we spent some time on these 2 points. We discussed also about resilience in dairy farming. What does it mean for us? But we didn't spend too much time on it because a lot of partners has already worked on it. So we didn't spend too much time on definitions, but much more about what does it mean for us and how we could define it a bit. And then we focused much more about the needs of farmers to build some or more sustainable farms. So to work on identification and prioritization on major issues, to work on specific needs associated to these issues, and also if we could identify some solutions to help to give some answers about these needs. So that was the idea. So how we did it, we work on a picture. So we asked colleagues or partners to come for the first meeting with some pictures, and we asked them why did they choose these pictures, and why does it illustrate the theme of resilience for them. So we harvested a lot of keywords and topics connected to these pictures. We gathered by themes, and the idea was to gather also in 10 areas of needs that we could discuss with experts, and it was more or less the 10 same areas that we discuss inside our R4D consortium, in fact. So concretely, we work on needs identification, as we said. So then we work on a paperboard to classify a bit them and to gather them in 10 areas. And then we wanted to get also a ranking a bit. So we assess all these areas on 2 ways. So they score each area, considering their level of importance when we discuss about resilience of dairy farming, and also the lack of solutions or innovations on this topic from their point of view. So the results are here. So that's one output that we wanted to share with you. The idea on the left, you have the 10 areas that you have to consider that we discussed during these 2 meetings, and they have been ranked just here. So the 2 first ones are quite clear. At the top of this list is business management and business model, strategic skills also that farmers consider that it's important, and also quite close to this, discuss about labor conditions and farmers' well-being. Then we had some who have a lot of importance for the farmers, so as animal nutrition and society-friendly system, but we didn't get too much solutions connected to these needs. And on the blue column, we have also some topics that we consider maybe a bit less important towards resilience, but maybe less important because we have also a lack of solutions to discuss and to share with farmers. So with this way of seeing, we can see that there are some differences between the 10 areas. And some of them, like the 3 with the axis in orange, have not been listed spontaneously during the first step of discussion. They came just after when we discuss a bit more with farmers. And the idea is not that the last area are not important. It's sure that it's relative. So when they have to make a ranking, it's much more a classification, but we need also to work on animal health and other topics. So at the same time, we have done a presentation of the online survey that colleagues from the Work Package 2 of Resilience for Dairy project have organized. So the idea was to rank 10 areas and also 43 items connected to these 10 areas. It was individual survey. So in France, 36 people answered them. So 16 farmers and 20 advisors, teachers, researchers. In fact, mainly connected to our national dairy acquis groups and operational groups for farmers. And here is the results. So the first one, and close to the table that I shown just previously, the work-life balance and the flexibility at work came quite at the top of this evaluation. And salary and returns for farmers were really close to this podium. But also we discussed a bit about communication to general public, the importance of these topics. And we can see also how the biodiversity and how to improve it and how to communicate about it. And we can see the differences between the green answers coming from the farmers or the blue answers coming from the other national dairy acquis members are quite close, in fact. There is no too much big differences between these 2 categories. And in the other side, if we can see the 5 least underrated item, here is the podium. So several discussion was connected to feed and nutrition. So innovative and special supplements or feed additive to mitigate methane emission, or innovative on the fourth place, innovative total mix ration production management techniques were not so well considered at this step or on this online survey, and also about pilot innovative devices for animal identification or localizations connected to precision livestock farming was not so high ranking here, but that doesn't mean that it's not interesting, but it doesn't interest all of us. And also automatic microclimate regulations in housing, more or less, was not so discussed on this online survey. So what we did with these two sources of information coming from the national workshop and coming from the online survey, we have seen that we work on the 10 areas prioritizations when we discuss about resilience. So that's why we work on this way of showing it. You have the 10 topics as we classified them collectively inside our F4D project. And for France, we classified them in 2 columns. So in orange with the level of importance for these needs, and in green, the resources available in our countries as we consider as available. And you can see it's quite close to what we did together on the first table. So the needs are much more connected to labor and business issues, also on animal nutrition and society-friendly system to work on it. But some of them we have, like animal nutrition, we consider that we have a lot of resources available, so maybe we don't have too much demands to share with colleagues, but we could share what we have for sure. And some other, like business management, business models, strategic skills, who have a high level of importance. We consider really important this issue to work, but we consider also that we don't have too much resources available. So that's why it's important to see it. And so what we have to do now and what we have done, so we have to go from the needs to the solutions inside our project. So as we have seen, we have done 10 areas prioritization, and we wanted to work on specific needs associated to these areas and solutions existing or not. But we discussed much more about existing solutions, but maybe we have read or seen something, and it's important to say it. So that's why we work on some paperboard like this one. For each of paperboard, we work on one area, considering the 10 areas, and we discuss about needs and solutions connected to these areas. So that's why we didn't. I won't show all of these 10 paperboard and results, but we just, this is an example, for instance, on animal well-being, animal welfare, and also animal health when we discuss with them. So coming from the discussion that we had during our National Dairy Acquis meeting, we were able to make such a table. On the left, you have some specific needs associated to this area. And on the right, you have the solutions, the practices or the methods that we have considered available to work on these needs in France. So for instance, for the health issue, it's important to have a global health approach also, but we have also some specific way to some indicators to manage dairy farms, for example, or to follow the booklets on farms specific dedicated to health. But we could also have some good practice guide to use essential oils or training sessions for using essential oils on farms. And we have also some methods to observe farms, cows on farms on these specific topics. We have also some other specific needs connected to animal behavior, some other about cow and calf contact or cow and calf separations. When you think about animal well-being, sure that building and housing is important issue. So that's why we put some solutions or practices or methods that we wanted to discuss, like some co-design method, also some heat stress management on farm, or to build also some barns with some well-being and society expectations. And the last one, health and feeding, we consider that we're quite close, and it's important also to connect these two topics. So this is an example. We have done it for the 10th area. And what would be the next step for France and probably for the colleagues from Europe? Sure that it would be important to get this kind of overview about dairy farmers' needs and solutions. First, to be able to know who is considering the same important topics among countries, to know which country has resources available or not, and to be able to organize some cross meeting, virtual or not, with other pilot farmers, but also with other national dairy hierarchies meeting. We could also organize this way of discussing. And also to be able to organize some solution assessment and on-farm trial that we have to do during the next months, connected also to the work package 3 and 4 activities. So this need to be continued to have a good overview of our 16 countries' contributions. And then the last point that we wanted to share also, sure that such a meeting, it's important also to work on the conviviality, to be able to be sure that partners want to join us in the future. So that's why we have done such activities also. We work on Calva brandy and also on cheese production on farms. So that was on one of our pilot farms with Bertrand Cailly, who lead and manage these farms. So that's also important, and it's important to tell you that the conviviality was a success at this start of this project. So now we can go on the farms with Valérie, who will explain a bit more about one strategy.
Thanks, Jocelyn. So as we said previously, the idea is to share solutions and innovative solutions between farmers from different areas or different countries. And one of the one of the way to improve resilience in our farms is to decrease the production costs. And we chose to tell you about one of our pilot farms, which is located in Brittany, a pilot farm belonging to a discussion group named CEDAPA, the local partner of IDEL for this project. And this pilot farm has chosen to decrease the production cost in order to be more resilient. So it's one of the 3 ways that Aubin described at the start to increase the sustainability of the French dairy sector. A few words about CEDAPA. CEDAPA means Technical Center for More Autonomous Farming. It's a professional association of 160 farms, mostly dairy farms. They have 9 advisors working with 160 farms. They are working with discussion groups. In fact, there are 15 different discussion groups that may be local groups or thematic groups. Like one group is working on a compact calving, spring compact calving systems, for instance. Another one is working on nerf cows, etc., etc. And all the farms in this group and all the dairy advisors are promoting a low input system based mostly on grazed grass to encourage the farmers' independence, to decrease the inputs. A few words about the local dairy situation in Brittany. Like Aubin said, the average dairy farm has 88 hectares and 77 cows, mostly Holstein cows. In average, 2.2 working units on the farm, and the farms are delivering a little less than 600,000 liters of milk per year. In Brittany, we have around 9,000 dairy farms. It's been decreasing by 16% since 2010. But the average production, the global production of the region is slightly increasing with less cows, which means that most of the farms are in a way of intensification of the reproduction system. We have 740 organic dairy farms. It's 8% of the farms. It's over the French average. And most of the dairy production in Brittany is used for processing butter, milk powder, cream, emmental, and most of the milk is delivered to co-ops like Thalys, Sodial, Entremont, Danone, but we also have several smaller co-ops and also several private companies processing the milk in Brittany. So this is a global background. And within this background, now we go to the farm of Valérie and Olivier Josset, who are pilot farms for Resilience for Dairy in France. They live in Illion. It's a small town or village, big village of 4,000 inhabitants. It's close to the northern coast of Brittany. It's quite a dry area for Brittany. The rainfall is only 700 millimeters per year. So there's usually a period of drought in summer. It's in the Saint-Brieuc Bay. It's close to the sea. And in this specific area, there is an environmental background of pollution from green algae for more than 30 years now. So just a few explanations about this background. In this bay of Saint-Brieuc, the streams are keeping the water from the rivers, coming from the rivers close to the coast. And the direction of the bay and these specific streams are explaining the blooms of green algae. And this bloom of algae is only possible because lots of nitrogen and phosphorus are coming from the rivers to the sea. And the streams are keeping all these nutrients close to the coast. Since the 1990s, there has been a huge development of green algae. And why is this nitrogen and phosphorus coming to the sea in this region? It's because, of course, of the high density of dairy production, pig production, and also humans in the region, in the same place. So this peri-urban area, together with the high density of animal production in the region, accounts for the very high level of nitrates in the rivers. And unfortunately, the streams in the sea are not going towards the sea, but keeping all the nutrients close to the coast. Because of this, so we have a lot of green algae on the beach in this region. And nowadays, the beach in Illion are forbidden. You cannot go. The pedestrians are not allowed to go on the beach because we also had some death, animal death, some dogs and one horse. And also some people who had some accidents because in summer the algae are producing toxic gases. So this is a very specific situation with a very high environmental pressure and also a peri-urban area. So the people are watching the way you are producing. There are still 25 dairy farms in Illion, mostly dairy farms. So it's quite a lot. But as I said, there are also lots of pig producers. And they have one co-op for machinery called CUMA, where the farmers are sharing equipment, farming equipment, and also sharing maintenance of this equipment to decrease machinery cost on the farms. Valérie and Olivier settled in 2017. At the moment, the herd is based on 73 crossbred cows and not pure Holstein cows. They are delivering 440,000 liters of milk to a dairy co-op that is only collecting the milk, Biolay. They are not processing the milk. They are only collecting milk and then selling the milk to other dairy companies. On the farm, the cows are producing around 6,000 liters of milk per year. It's an organic farm since 2019. You have the price of organic milk for 2020. As Aubin said, now the organic price is lower. And Valérie and Olivier have also developed direct sales of hens. So they have developed an activity of poultry farming as a supplement to the dairy production. They have 80 hectares. But only 18 hectares are grazable by the cows, close to the milking parlor. So their milk platform is quite limited, 18 hectares for 73 cows. Still, they have chosen to keep 65 hectares of grasslands because they think it's an important point for the sustainability of the system. They are producing organic, but they have kept maize silage, 8 hectares maize silage, 7 hectares of cereal and protein crops for the dairy cows. In terms of workforce, 3 people are working on the farm, so two farmers, and at the moment they have a salaried worker, but he will become also a member of the farming co-op, so there will be 3 farmers. 3 people working on the farm. In average, they are working 55 hours per week, so they have been registering their working time. They have 1 weekend free out of 2 and 4 weeks of holidays per year. And they need quite a lot of time for outside activities like humanitarian association, and Valérie is also stakeholder of the dairy company. And nothing specific about the equipment. So if we go to resilience, they have chosen one strategy in order to be more resilient today and tomorrow. They want to be more resilient with a grass-based system, and they know that the potential shocks in the future are related to the drought that they are already facing in summer, decreasing the forage production and the grass production in summer. And it will be even harder with the global warming in the coming years, and so they need to be resilient with the grass production and a potential drought in summer. So the only solution is to decrease the stocking rate on their milking platform during the summer. To face this threat, the innovative solutions that they have chosen and that they are ready to share with other European farmers are the following. To reduce the stocking rate in summer when grass is missing, they have chosen to calve in autumn, so to have an autumn grouped calving system. So cows are dry in July and August to have a lower stocking rate close to the milking parlor during this period. This way, they can also turn to one-day milking during the late spring and the summer, and it's also interesting for them because it's the period when they have more work and they are selling the hens. Their forage system is based on grass silage because they have a limited pasture availability that can be grazed close to the milking parlor. So thanks to this grass silage, they can produce milk during the winter. And it's interesting for them because the milk price in organic production is at the highest during the winter. So this high milk price during the winter is compensating the higher feeding costs related to the grass silage instead of grazing. So even if the farm lacks some area close to the milking parlor to graze the dairy cows, they think that the grass-based system is still an interesting strategy to reach the social, environmental, and economic resilience for their farm in the future, today and in the future. And they have developed several innovative solutions like the autumn grouped calving system and the once-a-day milking during the summer, and the production of organic milk with grass silage during the winter, to be resilient for the future, and they are ready to explain and share these solutions with farmers and from all over Europe. So the project for the farm and what they are developing at the moment to be a resilient farm, there are new innovations that they are currently implementing and that they want to develop. And these innovations are related to the 3 knowledge areas and expertise areas I explained at the start. The first one is growing hedges, having more hedges, more grooves, more woods on the farm, for both for landscape and biodiversity. It's also important for the relations with the neighbors and the other citizens, but it can also provide some feed for some animals during the summer when grass is missing. The second point is to develop, increase the number of active people or people working on the farm, having more employment on the farm if you manage to increase the returns on the farm. And how will they increase the added value on the farm? It's by creating a cheese dairy. They want to process part of the milk into cheese on farm to increase the milk returns and to control the milk price, because at the moment the organic price is fluctuating a lot. And if they process part of the milk into cheese on the farm, they can increase the number of people that make a living from the farm. So it's increasing employment on farm, but it's also increasing the added value from their own milk on the farm. So as I said, Valérie and Olivier were on holiday this week. So if you have questions about the different topics, I can try to answer the questions, but you can also ask some questions in the chat, and they will answer these questions later about their solutions and their propositions, and also about maybe the problems they are facing. Just a few words before we go to the questions. If you want to know more about what we are doing in the project, and if you have to have more information about the dairy farms involved in the project, we have some social networks. The first one is a Facebook page. Then we have a Twitter account, and we also have a website, and Jeff will probably add some information about these social networks to know more about what we are doing. Just a word about the next webinar for this project. It should be held on the 22nd of June in the morning, probably about the result of the survey, of the European survey about the needs and the solutions. Thanks for your attention this morning, and we are ready for your questions, and we will try to answer your questions. Go back to Jeff if we want to add something about this. Thanks a lot for being there this morning.
Thank you, Valérie, Aubin, and Jocelyn, for this interesting insight in the French topics what farmers concern. We had a few questions, two questions from Abel in the chat. One was for Aubin about what is the reason for the strong decrease of the milk production or of the dairy cows in France.
Yeah. Do we answer now? Yeah.
Yeah, please answer. I will say also the second question. It was about the surveys, but I think Jocelyn already answered in the chat. If this was a special survey, French survey, but I think it was the common one we do in every region.
Yeah, on this point, it was a common one that we used, and we focused on French results because we meet with farmers, so we wanted to give some results before the global analysis coming from the Work Package 2.
And for Abel, for his question, so until 2015, the decrease of milking cow was compensated, yes, by the increase of milk production per cow. So there is no huge impact on the national milk collection, national milk production. But since 2015, so the national milk production is starting to slowly decrease, and it's mostly due to, as I said, the retirement of many dairy producers, which are not replaced by new dairy farmers. So it's quite a big threat for our dairy sectors.
And as you said, the attractivity of dairy sectors seems to be a huge topic also, and I think not only in France, but at this time a big issue in France. So we have to work also, and that's why on the podium that we have seen, there's a question about economical but also labor issues were quite on the top of this podium. So I guess for them it's important, and one candidate or people who want to come in this business, they assess also this routine work and the workload, as you said, also the work-life balance. They compare to other production, and sometimes they choose something else, in fact.
And to add something, yes, you you're right, Bella, there is a differences according to the region. We have a concentration of milk production in northwest and some region, mainly as I said, mixed crop and dairy system. Slowly, the milk pollution is decreasing for the cereal production, and so there is a decrease very strong in this mixed dairy and crop area.
But is this a typical problem of the dairy sector, or is it the whole agricultural sector? That or do people from dairy move to crop and other productions?
When it's possible, yes. So a lot of them specialize a bit their farms on crop production, but sometimes also when, as Aubin said, when someone gets in retirement, when they were 3 working on the farms, the 2 who are still working, sometimes they just stop the dairy activities and focus on the crop productions, in fact.
There is a question from Abele about the farm and increasing the biodiversity on the farm, the pilot farm I introduced. Increase biodiversity on this farm as a farm target, like more ages, is it a social bonus for this? As I said, they are in a very specific area with it's been very tough between citizens and farmers for more than 30 years now because of this problem, green ages. Just imagine you live close to the seaside and you are not allowed to go on the beach. The beach is just closed and forbidden by the authorities because of the risk of toxic gases coming from the green algae that are developing because nitrogen and phosphorus come from the rivers, and they are in the rivers because farmers are using this kind of fertilizers, but of course not only farmers, people also are producing nitrogen. So the local background is very hard, very tough between farmers community and the citizens. So everything you can show to prove that you are trying to take environmental issues into account, that you are limiting your negative impact on environment to improve the relation between the citizens and the farming community is positive, I think. So this is a kind of societal bonus, as you said. Stop the war and increase the relations and explain how you are working. In particular, if you are organic farmer and you want to show that you are protecting the environment, that you are increasing the biodiversity, I think it can be very positive both for the farming community and for the citizen around your farm.
In some places also, you can find some city or some local organization who employ some people who facilitate discussion from dairy producers, but also pig producers and consumers. So just to find some solution to work together and to keep these activities on these territories, but to find a way to work and consider the citizens' expectations also. So that's not a direct, sometimes it's not a direct subsidies, but it's a way to organize this facilitation among citizens, consumers, and farmers.
You don't get any money for that, but if you know that people are watching the way you are producing, it's important to be confident that the people will agree with the way you are producing.
There are other questions from our audience. None.
some things that maybe we could just add about the national hierarchies meetings that we had in Normandy. Several farms and farmers were with us, and we have shown two different systems, and it was not the opposite, but one is much more focused on grass, low-cost system and added value when discuss about the resilience strategy, and the other one was much more focused on the volume, but to control the investment, and so it's much more intensive, but really controlled, in fact. And the discussion, we could see that maybe it could be a bit difficult about their feelings on the other systems. But in fact, the discussion was really interesting, and farmers were really happy to get the opportunity also to show and discuss with farmers who don't think like them. So sometimes you can be a bit afraid to meet different farmers in the same rooms to discuss about their strategy. But in fact, it was really interesting to say that everyone was happy at the final dinner when we discussed together. And so that's a good point also to share together, I guess.
There's a question from Yele about the farmers. I suppose it's about the farmers, the testimony at the end of the presentation about the impact of their solution on their income. In fact, they settled quite recently in 2017, and they are not from a farming family. So when they decided to settle as dairy farmers, their aim was to be resilient in terms of work-life balance. So I suppose that the choice of production system with this grass-based system is to reach different goals, and in terms of work-life balance, so economics, but also having holidays, not working every weekend, etc., etc. So I will ask them about the estimation of the cost of the production cost or the income with such a system compared to another solution to grow more maize and to keep the cows inside. But I guess that the most important point for them was not only the economic impact of this choice, but a more global assessment of the work-life balance with such a system, because they decided to leave their job to settle as farmers, and the issue was not only the economic issue, but also work-life balance, working time, quality of life, etc., etc. But I will ask the question.
Thank you, Valérie. Is there another questions to the French team?
Maybe you can open your microphone also, if you want.
And even your camera now, we have finished.
Yeah. So I think we will stop by this now. I will try to send to all the participants. I will stop the registration and then try if you can open it. We will do a small test and you will have the possibility to relook. And in future, we will also open a YouTube channel for all our videos. We have already 2 or 3 now with the webinars. That's the plan. At this moment, we are, like Valérie said, online on Facebook, Twitter, and our website. It's everything in evolution. Jeff. And we hope to share a lot of more things with you during the next month.
Jeff?
Yes.
We don't need a photo of participants.
If you have the list of participants, it's okay. But if you want that we take a picture of you, Maria, we can take a picture of you.
No.
I have a list of participants. I
think the list is okay.
For webinars, it's okay. So
Thanks a lot to everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff, for the organization.
And see you in June for the next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.